sexually abused women under his control, and even solicited individuals for child pornography. Now, all of these criminals are evil. They're horrible human beings. They're the worst of the worst. Leftists have doxxed, attacked, and tried to intimidate the men and women who uphold our laws and keep our streets safe. And now our ICE officers are facing an 830% increase in violence against them and their families. One of the open border politicians is right here in this state and is right here in this city. And I'm specifically calling out the mayor of Nashville. I'm very proud of the fact that since President Trump has been in office, we have removed over 600 known and suspected terrorists out of the United States of America. That we have brought thousands of gang members from MS-13, TDA, and brought them to justice and deported them out of our country.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security dropped a bombshell on Friday, revealing horrifying details of what ICE calls its most critical operation this year. From sex traffickers to rapists and even a convicted killer, Secretary Kristi Noem stood in Nashville and made it crystal clear. These weren't just undocumented migrants, they were the worst of the worst.
The Trump administration has specifically targeted the worst of the worst. The individuals that we are going after are those that are violent criminals, those that are breaking our laws, and those that have final removal orders. And in many of these places, we've negotiated for their safe return back to their own home country. And if they're criminals, they will face consequences for their crimes. I'm grateful for the fact that we have a president that stands up for the everyday American, and I would be thrilled if people would talk about the fact that when you get a rapist off the street, how many families have we protected? When you get a murderer off the street, a pedophile off the street, look at the families that will never have to be victims because that work was done. Too much time is spent focusing on these criminals when you should be focusing on the people who have been victims in the past and the fact that we're stopping future people from becoming victims as well.
Among those arrested, 2 Venezuelans linked to the Tren de Aragua gang, a Guatemalan man charged with child rape, an MS-13 member wanted for aggravated murder, and a 60-year-old Iraqi national with convictions for rape and false imprisonment. But it's Kilmar Abrego Garcia who Noem singled out. Accused of human trafficking and domestic abuse, she said, quote, "He is a monster."
There's a large case built against Abrego Garcia, and people will continue to see that throughout trial, and they'll continue to see that throughout this case. I will say that him consistently being surrounded and working with those gang members to traffic individuals across the state for many, many years and working in conjunction with them and targeting individuals of rival gangs against MS-13 and even helping to help facilitate the murder of a mother of one of the rival gangs that is opposed to MS-13. All of that builds into a case of work that has been done for many years against this individual. He is a monster, and he is tied to a terrorist organization that has perpetuated violence against human beings for many, many years. My hope is that he will stand trial and get the consequences of his actions, and that justice will be served for his victims.
And you brought up Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell, that he's been going after ICE agents. I had an interaction with him when he said the real concern is not releasing the names of ICE agents, but
No, that is a real concern. It is a real concern that he has jeopardized them and their families. They face violent acts. Their families are targeted. They're doxxed. Their personal information is put out there, and people are treating them horrifically.
Yet despite all this, local Nashville leaders are pushing back. Mayor Freddie O'Connell is under fire for allegedly doxing ICE agents, putting their lives and families at risk.
All of the agents and officials within HSI and ICE. Rioters, criminal thugs, legacy media, open border politicians, often you'll hear them standing up and defending the evil criminals that I've been talking about. And in the meantime, what they're doing is smearing and doxing our agents and putting them and their families at risk. Leftists have doxed, attacked, and tried to intimidate the men and women who uphold our laws and keep our streets safe. And now our ICE officers are facing an 830% increase in violence against them and their families. One of the open border politicians is right here in this state and is right here in this city. And I'm specifically calling out the mayor of Nashville. Mayor Freddie O'Connell has gone after our ICE individuals and agents that work with HSI. He's openly doxed them, revealed their information to the public, encouraged people to work against them and their efforts to clean up the streets of Nashville, and he has forced his city officials, his employees of the city of Nashville, to document every single interaction that they have with federal immigration authorities.
And when State Representative Justin Jones tried to crash Noem's press event to question ICE's methods, he was kicked out. Noem didn't hold back. The mayor should stop playing politics and start supporting law enforcement. She confirmed that under the Trump administration, over 300,000 illegal immigrants with criminal backgrounds have been arrested and deported.
President Trump campaigned on immigration enforcement. The American people voted for immigration enforcement. They voted to clean up their streets and get these criminals out of our country. I'm very proud of the fact that since President Trump has been in office, we have removed over 600 known and suspected terrorists out of the United States of America, that we have brought thousands of gang members from MS-13, TDA, and brought them to justice and deported them out of our country. We're continuing to go after these criminals to protect American citizens. And now that the President's big, beautiful bill is passed, we have the resources to double down. We will bring more agents to Nashville. We will bring more resources to this state. And we will make sure that even though politicians continue to play politics and try to lie about what the work is that we're doing to make America safe again, that we will continue to fight for the families that live here and make sure that these child pedophiles, these rapists, and these murderers are off our streets. We will never apologize for protecting the American people. President Trump is working hard every day to make sure that this is a country where the rule of law is applied equally to everybody, that illegal criminals are not placed above or prioritized above the American citizens that live here and work and are just pursuing the American dream.
And she urged federal judges not to release people like Abrego Garcia, whose trial is set for January 27, 2026. As for the mainstream media, Noem claimed they're trying to paint monsters as martyrs.
You know, I would say that the media has highlighted operations like that, but we have operations ongoing throughout the country every single day in communities everywhere. So I would not say that anyone could show that they're highlighted in Hispanic communities. They're highlighted in areas that we know we have investigative work and case work to show that we may have enforcement mechanisms that need to be put in place because we have criminal activities ongoing.
Well, my audience is predominantly Latino, so they kind of every day say they're fearful because a lot of people have been targeted based on their skin color, not necessarily.
That's not true. And so that has been another false narrative that has been put out there in the media that I absolutely want to throw back at you and say that is absolutely false, and don't you dare ever say that again. We have judges out there and other individuals saying people have been targeted that way, and it's not true. Every single operation that we do on ICE is based on investigative work and on case work to show that there is a reason and reasonable suspicion to go into an area and to talk and look at individuals that are involved in criminal activity. So because that is a narrative that people have been out there saying doesn't make it true, and it should not be repeated. There's a large case built against Abrego Garcia, and people will continue to see that throughout trial, and they'll continue to see that throughout this case. I will say that him consistently being surrounded and working with those gang members to traffic individuals across the state for many, many years, and working in conjunction with them and targeting individuals of rival gangs against MS-13, and even helping to help facilitate the murder of a mother of one of the rival gangs that is opposed to MS-13. All of that builds into a case of work that has been done for many years against this individual. He is a monster. And he is tied to a terrorist organization that has perpetuated violence against human beings for many, many years. My hope is that he will stand trial and get the consequences of his actions, and that justice will be served for his victims.
And you brought up Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell, that he's been going after ICE agents. I had an interaction with him when he said the real concern is not releasing the names of ICE agents, but the...
No, that is a real concern. It is a real concern that he has jeopardized them and their families. They face violent acts. Their families are targeted. They're doxxed. Their personal information is put out there, and people are treating them horrifically. And he needs to stop and knock it off and grow up and act like a leader and start sending his law enforcement officers to have our backs. Because what we are doing is upholding the law. We are upholding the law every single day. If he doesn't like the law, go change it. Go to the federal government and change the law. But what we are doing here is making our streets safer for the people of Nashville, and the people of Nashville overwhelmingly support getting criminals off of their streets. He should be helping us do that.
Well, he's saying that the unmasking of ICE agents need to be unmasked, that's the real concern.
So Mayor O'Connell's much more worried about victimizing our law enforcement officers than he is going after criminals? This guy's priorities are completely screwed up, and he doesn't deserve to be a mayor. He doesn't deserve to be in office. Yes.
Secretary, do you any specific information you can share with us about the number of additional agents or the additional resources you plan to bring to Nashville or Tennessee?
Well, that analysis is getting done. We will have dozens of more officers and agents that will be here in the Nashville area. And we will continue to make sure that there are resources not just in Nashville but throughout the state, and also this office covers Kentucky as well. So we will do an analysis of where we see criminal activity and where we need those individuals to make sure that we can have people go forward and do their operations and do them safely. Clearly, when there is a sanctuary city or there's a sanctuary state, we're going to have to put more federal officers there because there's not a cooperative agreement with the local and state law enforcement that has their backs and allows them to conduct their operations safely. So when you're looking at a city like New York City or Nashville or Chicago, Illinois, we're going to have to put more federal officers there in order to run our operations safely. But we have over 800 agreements across this country with other city, local, and state officials that partner with us every single day. And we're so thrilled to have those leaders in those cities being grateful that we're there cleaning up their streets and getting dangerous individuals off their streets. Thousands and thousands of mayors and governors and local officials and sheriffs and city council members across this country are partnering with us and working with us every day so that when we go out and do an operation, they have our backs. And they're helping us secure locations, and they're partnering with us. It's unfortunate we don't have that kind of working relationship here in Nashville. And last question.
Madam Secretary, back in May, ICE agents cooperated with THP troopers for a traffic enforcement stop. So far, we've been blocked by local and state authorities to look at biographical data for those people to ensure Hispanics weren't unlawfully being targeted. Will ICE release that data if locals won't?
Do you have any indication that anybody was targeted just specifically because of what their race or creed was?
CAD reports that I have right now on those show disproportionately Hispanic people being stopped and detained.
Every single enforcement action that we have, every single enforcement operation that we have conducted has been based on a casework and investigative reports on criminal activities and where we know that there is those types of things going on and individuals are located.
Would you
All right,
suggest
good.
that information out to the
We will release any information that's available that we can according to the law. And we have been extremely transparent. This has been the most transparent administration that we have had in a very long time on operations that we have on the ground. And that's one of the things that makes me so proud to work for President Trump, is that he has been an open book on making sure that he's following through on exactly what the American people have asked him to do. Focus on, number one, securing the border. For 2 months in a row now, we have 0 illegal aliens that have crossed our borders and come into this country. And that is one thing that has done amazing results in making sure that we're keeping Americans safe. The second thing he has promised to do that overwhelmingly the American people wanted him to was to get the worst of the worst off of our streets. And so our focus is there, and that's what we will continue to do, is to provide operations that remove these murderers, rapists, pedophiles, and human traffickers and drug traffickers off of our streets. When you look at the table in front of me, these are all drugs and guns that have been taken off of the streets from this office and this area, this state, that are no longer out there killing our children, that are no longer out there perpetuating drug addiction and splitting up families and conducting violence on the streets. They have been brought into and taken away from criminals and terrorist organizations because of the work that these officers do. My hope is that we can continue to do this kind of work and do it in a way that makes sure that we're honoring our law enforcement officers and we're recognizing the rule of law needs to be enforced and enhanced here in the United States. That's what the American people demanded, and that's what President Trump is following through on.